Welcome to Your Best Life podcast, where we help you discover your calling so you can live with purpose and clarity. We're Pete and Julie Morrill, your guides, mentors, and lifelong adventurers, and we're here to help you find your true north. Hey folks, this is just a reminder that at True North Quests and on this podcast, we like to listen to people with a variety of ideas. Sometimes we're going to interview guests who might be a little more extreme in terms of political ideas or religious ideas or whatever. We're not here to endorse their ideas. We're here to explore the path that they've taken toward finding their calling. So we just want you to know that even though we may have a guest on our show, it doesn't necessarily mean we're 100% aligned with their thinking. Okay, enjoy the show.
Well, this is Pete Morrill with True North Quest. We're about guiding people to live their best lives. And I'm excited to introduce a very special guest today. Her name is Lynnsey Robinson. Lynnsey is a certified hypnotherapist and intuitive guide who helps people break through old limitations and step fully into lives they're meant to live. She's the co-host of High Vibin' It podcast, and through her work, she empowers clients all over the world to trust themselves, embrace their unique gifts, and create lives that feel aligned with who they truly are. Lynnsey, thank you very much for joining us. We can't wait to hear your story, but I like to do an icebreaker at the beginning. And Lynnsey, I'd love you to tell me two truths and a lie about yourself. I'm going to try to guess the lie. So go ahead.
Two truths. Okay. I know you warned me about this. I'm trying to think of two truths. Why is this so hard? I should know this. Okay, so I'll say, okay, I got a couple. So I'm 4'11" height.
Okay.
I didn't drive till I was 24. And I am a gourmet chef on the side.
Well, I surely think that you're a gourmet chef. And I think not driving until you're 24 seems so common today, unfortunately. But maybe it was because you're 4'11" and you can't reach the pedals. I don't know. You're not 4'11". Maybe you're 4'10" or 5 foot. So
okay. I'm 4'11" and a half, but I think I say 4'11", so technically that one was true.
Okay. Which one was the lie?
I'm not a gourmet chef. I feel like that was so obvious. I'm not a good liar. I'm sorry. I tried.
Well, you fooled me.
I tried.
You fooled me. Well, let's get into some of the more serious stuff. Lynnsey, I'm excited to talk to you because you really are doing what we do, but you're doing it in a very different way. So if someone was to ask you to describe your soul's calling or your life calling in one sentence or even more, what would you tell them?
I truly think and believe that my soul's purpose is honestly just showing other people how powerful they are, reminding them how awesome it is to be a human and what they can do. It's just, I'm never going to get sick of it. It's so much fun. Yeah. I love showing people the power of their subconscious, the power they have to create their own happiness, their own lives, and create the circumstances around them. And it just gets more fun the more I do it.
That's a cool life calling and very similar to us. And I agree. I get jazzed by it as well. So how did you find it? Was there a specific moment or experience where you felt your calling was more clarified, or did you just kind of follow a process, or how did you find your calling?
Well, I kind of explain this and start by saying I was always a weird child. Okay. So I always really had a hunger to know what made a human. Like, what is this? Is it just a body? Is it what's beyond the physical? And so as a kid, I translated that to like the desire to be a ghost hunter or like,
Go into the
I was
paranormal.
always in cemeteries trying to do that. And then as I got older, I decided maybe criminal psychology. I really loved psychology and trying to figure out how we tick and why we do the things we do. And I really loved forensics and the show CSI. I wanted to do that so much.
Okay.
But I realized very quickly I'm not really cut out for that much death, I think. Shout out to anyone who can do it. It's not me. So around the same time I was studying this in college, I got a book my sister gave me called Journey of Souls by Michael Newton, who is was a hypnotherapist who took his clients through the life between life stage and like helped them kind of embrace their soul, right? That thing that's beyond. And it just checked every box I didn't know that I had in terms of what I needed and wanted to know. And then I just was obsessed with hypnotherapy and past life regression and spiritual hypnosis and all that kind of stuff. And I just kind of hit the ground running. It changed my life in a way that after reading that book, I knew I had to move from my home state of Michigan all the way to Los Angeles to learn how to do this. And so I moved across the country. It was one of those pivotal moments where I feel like had it not happened, I definitely probably wouldn't be here today. So I would say the book was probably one of the moments where I knew, but I always kind of knew. So it's hard to answer. I think we all kind of know when we're different, you know?
Yeah.
We just want to do something different.
So tell me, why did you need to move to LA to explore it more?
Well, because that's where the Michael Newton Institute was.
Okay,
And so I thought, well, why not? Why go anywhere else? I should go to this school where, this is the guy. So I didn't end up going there actually because it was way north in California and I was in more of the LA area. So I went to I'm so glad where I went. It's in Tarzana. It's one of the best schools I've ever seen and found since. But yeah, I landed well. But yeah, that was the pull, was to move to Cal. Plus, I think deeper, my soul just wanted to be on my own and spread my wings in a way that I would never have been able to in my home state with everyone around me that knew me as a certain version of myself. Yep. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no.
So I think it just needed to happen. Yeah.
And what age were you when you made that move?
I was 20. Okay. I turned 21.
So that was a pretty big,
right after I moved there.
That was a pretty big deal. And that'd be a major move in life, right?
Yeah, everybody was like, "Are you nuts? What are you thinking?" well, I'm doing it.
And were your parents involved in this decision? Were they endorsing it, excited about it, trying to tell you, no, you're crazy? Where were they and your friends?
Everyone, I mean, the people that knew me well were very much like, I'm happy for you. I know it's what you want. I'm just sad that you're going. My parents were like, are you out of your mind? When are you coming back? This is a phase. You'll get over it. You'll come home. And I didn't. Yeah. I stayed away for 20 years. And then I finally ended up moving back to Michigan when last year, actually, when I have 3 kids, young kids, and I thought it was a really cool place to grow up. You know, you have nature, you have the seasons, you have that close-knit community. So I moved them back here and they love it. But at the time, it was exactly the place I needed to leave and be away from.
Understood. Well, I had some time in Southern California as well, and we moved up to Northern California and grew my kids up in the beauty of Northern California, Northern California. So I get what you're talking about. So generally, let's stay very general on the answer to this question. Generally, how do you guide others to find their calling or their soul's longing, or however you want to state that?
Generally? Oh, geez. Okay, let me try. Obviously, I use hypnotherapy, and it really comes down to accessing those things that have told them they're not allowed to, and giving themselves permission to release those things in favor of things that will move them forward. So if you grew up with a belief that you're better seen and not heard, or you have this fear of being in the spotlight or fear of being your authentic self because it was shut down so many times, then that's what we would work on and allow them to, in a safe, relaxing, nurturing environment, be able to feel that safety and just embracing who they are. That's the generalist I can go.
Okay, well, I'm gonna then skip ahead a little bit because I think it'll be helpful and dovetail on that. So, what is hypnotherapy? How do you get people that are maybe freaked out by that idea? What are misconceptions about hypnosis or hypnotherapy? Just kind of fill us and our listeners in on that.
Yeah. So the first thing I want everyone to understand, without a doubt, no matter who you are already going into hypnosis multiple times a day. So you're already an expert at this trance-like state. Like, we've all felt it. It's that dreamy, floaty feeling right before you fall asleep, right before you wake up for the day, when you drive home and you can't remember it,
Yep.
those things that happen without us being fully aware of it. So the conscious mind is in charge of our decision making, analytical skills, logic, reasoning, willpower. That's all conscious. So the word you're choosing to speak is a conscious practice, but the ability to speak is a subconscious practice. So all I'm doing is, without turning off the conscious, because they're always working together, you're just more conscious of the conscious. What I'm doing is just bringing the subconscious to a more alert state, kind of perking up its ears so that it's receptive and listening to what we're actually trying to teach it. And the other thing I'd want people to know is you can teach your subconscious anything that you want. Just because you believe something that's limiting you right now doesn't mean that you have to be stuck with it. The only thing that a baby is born with is the fear of loud noises and the fear of falling. Everything else is learned, except for, of course, the fight or flight response, which is triggered by the fear of loud noises or the fear of falling. Mm-hmm. So everything else from that point is a learned behavior. And that's good news, because you can unlearn any learned behavior and, install new upgrades that kind of fit who you really are and who you want to be.
And so
did I answer the question?
Yes, no, it did, but I'm going to dig a little deeper. So how do you take people into their subconscious? And are some people naturally more resistant or naturally more pliable to that process?
Well, I think what I would refer to it as levels of suggestibility. So yes, there are very generally two groups of people. Of course, there's nuance and there's exceptions and all kinds of stuff. But let's just talk very general. There's either a literal type or an inferential type, or an analytical type is what we call it. So one of two people. The literal person will be somebody who takes everything at face value. They wear their heart on their sleeve. They cry at movies, that kind of person. They don't need a lot of information. If I were to say your body is relaxing, your arms are relaxing, then that would work. With an analytical, inferential person, they tend to overthink things. They tend to want to know how things work. They need to read between the lines and find the deeper meaning in things. So when they speak, they're speaking very bluntly, only the answer to the question you've asked. But when you're giving them information, they need every single detail so they can figure it out. Mm-hmm. And I know we all know both types of people. Yeah. And the other thing is, no one's 100% of anything. So my job is to find where you fall on that scale of extreme literal or extreme inferential, so that I can give you the best experience. And really all it is the client is allowing me to get them to that space where their subconscious feels safe to receive the suggestions that are positive, that are, going by the client's agenda. It's always the client's goals and agenda. I'm just kind of holding the flashlight on the path, but I need to find a way to speak to your subconscious so that it receives the information. If I were to say to an analytical person, let's say, your body is feeling relaxed, they'd be like, what are you talking about? No, it isn't. So it's my job to figure out how you take in information so that I can help you kind of get to that state. And once I do, all it really is you allowing me to speak to you in a nice way that helps you to relax, that helps your subconscious to kind of fall into that receptive state.
What's something about this process that surprises people that once they've gone through the process, they kind of go, oh, okay.
Well, for me, the biggest thing, and I've heard a lot of clients echo this, which is just, I thought I would have to do more. I thought I'd be more involved. But all you really need to do is allow yourself to feel relaxed. And that in itself can be very difficult for people, because who even knows how to be relaxed these days? Nobody. Right. So it's just allowing yourself to let it all go. Stop thinking about what you're going to have for dinner. Stop thinking about the day, the week, the month. Let it all fade into the background just for now, just for this moment, so that you can be present right here, right now, in your body, in the moment, and allow that relaxation, that comfort, that safety. Allow yourself to be held, right, in this container of, compassion and nurturing.
So my wife has been listening to you, and she's got neck pain. And she's had neck pain for like the last 4 or 5 months. Somebody like her, and I would consider her a very literal person. She definitely wears her emotions on her sleeve. How would you coach her through a process of trying to, and is that something you do? In other words, if people are infirmed in certain ways, is that something you help them with, or is it more about guiding their life decisions?
Well, I mean, it's both, right? There's very few times I've had a client come to me with any sort of physical pain and have it not be some level of emotional as well. Now, I'm not a doctor, so go to the doctor. But if it's
Right.
something where the client will say, like, oh, I've been to 4 or 5 doctors and nobody has an answer, they say it's in my head, that's a jackpot. Of course, we can work with this because they can't seem to find anything and there's no diagnosis. So that's when I would probably help them to discover what that pain is trying to tell them. And one of my favorite things, and you can do this with pain, you can do this with a limiting belief, you can do this with a fear, you can do this with anything that's standing in your way and preventing you from living fully, is to, in hypnosis, give it a voice and ask it why it's here and what it needs in order to be released. And some people can even do this conscious. So if your wife just wants to, like, before she goes to bed or right when she wakes up, just be like, if this pain were trying to tell me something, what would it be? And just listen. Maybe nothing comes up, maybe something comes up, and just explore and ask questions and get curious, because honestly, you never know. It could be how she's sleeping, or it could be something trying to come up that she needs to process and release out, you know?
Well, she's done exactly what you've talked about. Maybe a half a dozen doctors and physical therapists and all those chiropractors and all those, and then she has come to the point where she feels like there is a lot of mental energy that
Mm,
needs to be released, mental tension perhaps, and probably has made the most progress in the last month simply because she has been trying to live a more peaceful existence.
yeah.
I don't want to give too much color commentary without her permission, so I just I drew her into it because I think it's a very practical
Yeah.
example of what you do.
Yeah, I mean, I carry all my stress in my neck and shoulders. So if I know that I'm not giving myself enough time to be peaceful and be in something that really brings me joy and happiness and frivolity, then I will get sore, and I know that that's what's happening. So it could just be something like that. Is it her throat or the back of her neck, or like the side?
Back of her neck.
Oh, okay. I'm sure she's explored this, but if it were like the front or the throat area, it could be, unspoken truths or finding it hard to express herself. But if it's not, if it's in the back, then it very well could be stress related. So I'm glad that she's trying to be more peaceful, because who doesn't need that? Let's all do that.
She can even point back to an episode that happened where somebody who she felt a good bit of stress towards came into our house, and she kind of thinks that was a triggering
Uh-huh.
moment for it.
Well, she sounds very smart to put these things together, because a lot of people maybe can't do that.
She's very much into researching just about everything, and so that's how
Yeah.
she stumbled upon your podcast as well, and it has been helping her. So yeah,
Oh,
so
nice.
kudos to you. So let's change gears a little bit. What are practices, habits, rituals that you would consider non-negotiable for your life?
Oof. Okay, so definitely coffee. Is that allowed?
Yeah, sure.
Definitely coffee,
Okay.
100%. And I
But
do
I'm
tend to
guessing
make
there's
it.
more than just the aroma of coffee involved here.
I do. It just makes me so happy in the morning. No, one of the things I do actually tend to make things more spiritual for myself. So, like, let's take the coffee for example. I will sprinkle some cinnamon in it, and cinnamon, if you choose to believe it, is a symbol for, like, abundance and prosperity. And so I'll sprinkle some cinnamon in my coffee with that intention, and I'll stir it. And while I stir it, I think of all the good feelings I want to have that day. Like, that is my moment to just kind of feel into what I want to experience that day, what I want to accomplish, how I want to feel, because I think establishing how you want to feel and following that feeling is so much more important than following productivity most days. We all have days where we have to get stuff done, but how much better would it be if you felt good while you were doing it? So
Sure.
that's probably my number one. And then I will light a candle. I'll call in my guides, just invite them to be in my space with me and show me how good it can be today is kind of what I try to say to them. Just show off, right? Come and show off and show me how good it can be today. And it's never failed me yet. I do have some off days, but on the days where I'm really intentioned and I'm really like focused on feeling good, you just feel good. So I don't know. I would say that I don't really do like a lot of routine because I don't know why. I'm just not really a routine kind of person. But I do. Those are the things that I do tend to do most often.
Good. So you said something that it was maybe just a little side phrase, but I thought it was interesting. You said cinnamon, if you choose to believe it, and so how important is it that cinnamon is that agent, or how important is it that you choose to believe it?
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm in the business of placebo, so I'm going to say the fact that you believe it is making it true, right? So 100%. I try to not annoy people with how much I beat this drum, but your belief is what's making it happen. If you believe it's not going to work, it's not going to work. If you believe you can't do it, you're right. If you believe you can do it, you're right. So I think some people might think cinnamon is the worst thing ever to happen to this planet. And if they put it in their coffee, they're going to have a terrible day. And they probably would. But for me, I like the idea that cinnamon could maybe bring me a little more prosperity that day if I use it. And so I call that in and I use it with intention. And hypnosis is the best placebo. I love that you asked this because our brains are extremely powerful. And if you feel it, and if you believe it, or even if you hope that it's true and you want to believe it, that is doing more than disbelief itself. So I always say to clients, like, you don't have to come completely believing that this will work for you. But if you crack the door open and dare to hope that it will, that's all I need. And then I can show you how amazing it will be. So I definitely think it's the belief. That's the most important thing. 100%.
So I thought it was interesting. You put another phrase in there. I'm in the business of placebos. which almost sounds like signing up for malpractice. You know what I'm saying?
No. Well, first of all, no. This is the way that I kind of want, that I like to explain it to certain people because they say, well, does hypnosis even work? Yeah, it works, but I can't show you how because it's based on belief, right? Like every bit of your life is based on belief. You believe you're going to get sick, so you're sick. You believe you're going to get better, so you're better. We don't know we're doing it, but you're constantly manifesting and creating your reality every single moment you're alive. That is how powerful you are. And that is also a placebo, because if you stop believing it works, it's going to stop working.
Right.
So I am in the business of placebo, but that's how powerful we are to be able to create the reality that we want.
And so the person that's skeptical says, well, this is just the power of positive thinking. And you would probably say amen. Is that right?
Well, no. Well, you might think I would, but
Okay,
I'm going to say no one can possibly be expected to think positively all the time. And if you do, you're lying to yourself. And if you're lying to yourself, you're going to have a bad time. So I would say positive thinking is great. If you can put a positive spin on something, it's usually a healthy thing to do for your own mindset.
Yep.
However, if you're ignoring your feelings, if you're shoving them down, if you're not processing the way that you feel right now, it's not going to get quieter. It's probably going to get louder, and it's going to demand that you pay attention. And so positive thinking is great, but there is toxic positivity. And I think it happens when that tipping point is when you stop acknowledging your real feelings and how you feel.
So kind of false positive thinking. In other words, masking positive thinking.
Masking, yeah. When you shove it down, it's not going away. It's just going to get duller and last for a really long time until it gets louder and louder. It's like a toddler. When a toddler wants something from you, it's going to tug on your, pants, and then it's going to start saying "mom," and then it's going to start screaming, and then it's going to be a ball of crying screams on the floor. That's usually it's a metaphor for how your feelings are they just want to be heard, you know?
So you threw in another thing when you talked about your rituals or your habits. You talked about I want to touch base with. I think you said spiritual guides.
Yeah.
So I want you to unpack that a little bit. What's a spiritual guide? How does someone listen to their spiritual guide? I've got a couple other questions once you get done with those.
Well, a spiritual guide for me is just someone that's on your spiritual team that's cheering you on and maybe sending you some winks now and then to let you know you're on the right track. Uh, how to listen to them, I like to just come up with, I talk to them a lot. So I'll say, like, here's how I want you to communicate with me. And you can be as specific or as vague as you'd like. I tell this to clients, if they're open to it, I'll say, like, ask your guides for a sign. And they'll say, well, I don't know what to ask for. What do you want to ask for? Like, what's something that if you saw it, you would know that you're on the right track? For some people, it's numbers, 555 or 1111, something like that, angel numbers. But for me, it is they'll just make weird synchronicities happen. So if like there's a weird coincidence, if I'm thinking of something or worried about something, and then I see something referencing that very specific thing, I'll be like, all right, guys, I'm listening, kind of thing. And it's different for everybody, but I think it's important that we create our own personal relationship with, you could call it a guide, you could call it an angel, you could call it your own higher wisdom. That's what my husband does, is he likes to connect with that higher wisdom of his own, and kind of navigate from there. You could call your ancestors. I work with ancestors a lot. I'm also a genealogist, so it makes sense that I would that I would gravitate towards that. But I call in anyone who's high vibe and really wants to help me out can come and hang out with me and show me how good it can be. And I'm very specific. No negative Nancy's are allowed in my space.
Okay. Well, and I'm one of these analytics, so I'm going to go a little deeper. And I'm a believer in the supernatural. So so is this a supernatural manifestation of a divine being, or is this a manifestation of your best thinking?
That is the question, isn't it?
And so you're okay with either one being.
I'm okay not knowing because it helps and it makes me happy. And I think that's the same thing when people ask, like, well, are past lives real? Like, is it even a thing? And I say, I don't know. Honestly, you can't know, right? Unless you had a time machine, you can't know. But it helps. If someone's afraid of water and they come for a past life regression and they find out of their own discovery that maybe they drowned in a past life, and now they can take a bath or they can go in the ocean and they can live their life to the fullest, I don't care.
Right.
That's great.
Right.
I don't care what you call it. It's helped this person. And I just think at the end of the day, if something works for you and it feels good and it's fun, we have enough to worry about. Why not just make it more fun sometimes? Now, on a practical side, I have of my own experience and me personally, I have very little doubt in my mind that this isn't actually a thing. Like, I do believe in spirit guides. I do believe that they want to help. I don't think they show themselves, like, and to me, they don't show themselves physically to me because I'm not a clairvoyant. I'm clairaudient, so like I hear things sometimes, or I will like have claircognizance where I just know, but I very rarely see like paranormal things or supernatural things. So they could be right in front of me right now, and I just don't have I'm not tuned to the right frequency to be able to see it.
Well, I think most people believe in the supernatural in a variety of different ways, right? We all have different flavors for which we believe. But here's pragmatic question for you.
Yeah.
Do you believe everybody should have some type of spiritual guide?
Should meaning like, do they deserve it, or should meaning like, do they get one?
I haven't really thought about it. I guess should in terms of everybody should, if they can get over the fact that it's supernatural and it might not be as analytical as they are wanting it to be.
Well, I mean, I truly think that your soul, right? We can at least agree that everyone has a soul. Your soul has a spirit guide soul assigned to it. Now, whether or not you're listening or acknowledging them, it doesn't matter really.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
You could call a number. Call.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, yes, I think everybody does. I think everybody has. Some people think you have more, like everyone has like dozens. I don't know, and I kind of like not knowing. I do know that there's a couple that I really feel, and I've dreamt of them. So, like, for me, it is a very deep connection that I will connect with. But I don't know for sure how many. I honestly. I don't even know how I would find that out, but maybe I should put myself in hypnosis and just go meet them. But it is something I do with hypnosis as well, is I'll help the client meet their spirit guide, and that's usually a fun time.
When you referred to your spiritual guides, you referred to plural.
Yes, well, yeah, because I like to leave room for possibility.
Yeah. You don't want to leave anybody out.
Exactly. I want to be inclusive to everyone that wants to help me out.
The only ones you want to leave out are the negative ones. I understood that.
No negative Nancys are allowed. That's right.
So somebody who might have a different faith set or something like that, you're okay with them calling it an angel or calling it that doesn't really matter to you as long as they're open to listening. Is that
true? Because again, like I've had, people of all kinds of religions come to me. And when we do, let's say we do like a spirit guide one, I will ask them, like, how would you like me to refer to this higher loving guide? So this wise and loving something. And I've had people, the thing is, like, I don't know what it's going to be until you go into hypnosis and you tell me what you saw. So I usually will say wise and loving something, and they will come back after they're out of hypnosis and say, oh, I saw, I've had people see like little tree people. I've had people see Jesus. I've had people see their past mom that had passed away. Angels, like all kind. Sometimes it's just a cloud that has benevolent energy. Like it just doesn't. I've never seen somebody do the same thing twice. It's always something completely different. But I think that meaning the client's ability to get on board with this idea and welcome in something that wants to love and support them and accept them exactly as they are, can show up in many forms. And as long as they are open to that, we're off to the races. Like, it's going to be a good time.
So that's a breakthrough when they can start to become open to their spiritual guide for you in that process. That they're
Yeah, because it's important for us to know, I think, that we're not alone, right? And that there are benevolent beings or, people on higher vibrations that just want to see us succeed and just have our best interests and are doing their best work for us in the background.
Yeah.
I just like it.
If somebody feels, so let's you got a brand new client, they feel stuck, they feel powerless. Where do you start with them?
Well, I'd say, what does stuck mean?
So you try to identify whatever the negative mud they're in, right?
Yeah, we would talk about it. I'd get some specifics, and those are really great people to work with because they know that usually it's a feeling of like, I know I'm on the edge of something big. I know I'm on the edge of a transition or an evolution or an awakening of some kind, and I just can't get out of my own way. And that can be for a million different reasons. But the first session is really, well, actually the consult call before we even get working together is where I really get deep into specifics of what they want to accomplish and what they hope to succeed at in this hypnotherapy program. And if they just came to me and said, I just feel stuck, then first step would be like, what area of your life, how is it feeling to you? How do you know that that you feel stuck? Like, how is it showing up and what is it, doing to your experience? And then we would go from there. But stuck is one of the biggest, like, it's such an umbrella term for so many things. And so, it's about just figuring out specifically for that client. It's a very personal work too. I'm sure you can guess that, but there's so much that goes into creating and crafting these hypnotherapy sessions because it's your language, it's your personal challenges and struggles and your journey. So they're very, very personal hypnosis, and really no two is the same. So yeah, it's really fun for me.
So sometimes you go to the doctor and you're complaining about maybe something to do with your back, and then he does a bunch of tests and he goes, "Oh, I'm so glad you came in because there's this more serious problem
Yeah.
that you should be aware of." So, is some way them being stuck the beginning of perhaps the healing process or the guiding process or the openness that they might have to solutions?
Yeah, I would say that's probably the first step. If you can identify anything, that's the first step. And then I'm there from that day forward to help you figure out what's really going on. But I would say I do tell people in the first, like the consult, when they're asking, well, how long are your programs and what kind of programs do you offer? I presented 6, 9, and 12 weeks, right? And then I say this is absolutely true. Most people choose the 12 weeks because so many times I will say, like, well, what do you want to accomplish with hypnotherapy? And they'll tell me one thing. Well, I want to stop biting my nails, for example. And then 2 sessions in, they're like, and my mother, right? It just turns into like so many different things. So the 12 weeks really I tell them that 12 weeks is such a decent container, a 3-month period where we could really touch on almost anything. If you have 1 issue, 5 issues, 7 issues, 12 weeks is, and anything that you don't even know about yet, we want to give space to be able to do that. So yeah, it usually will happen where they'll present with something so simple, and then they'll realize it's not so simple.
Yeah, right. So what happens if somebody has been going to a psychologist or a therapist for a period of time, and that has honestly not given them much guidance? Are you going to encourage them to unplug from that and try this, or are you going to say let's try to work in tandem with that? How would you handle that
Well,
situation?
I never, ever, ever, ever would never, ever tell someone to stop seeing anybody. Like I don't give advice ever, but what I do is kind of present options, and then they decide what to do from there. So if they're working with a psychologist that they really like or a psychiatrist, then absolutely keep going to them. I trust the client to know if it's working or not without me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't really ever tell them, hey, you should not do this anymore and only see hypnotherapists. But there are forms that I give them so that their psychiatrist, psychologist can know that they're seeing me as well. So that's really all it is. As long as we both know that we're both seeing this person, then that's really it. And as long as they want to see them, because some people get a lot out of it, even if there's no real change being made. But I will say, this is my experience talking now, I've had a lot of clients marvel at how fast hypnotherapy works. And the reason they know it's fast is because they had been going to cognitive behavioral therapy or some kind of conscious, therapy for a long, long time, and they haven't really seen any movement. And so that's kind of, and I'll just nod and smile and say, well, that's great. but I'm never, yeah. So no, I mean, I wouldn't encourage them to stop, but they'll see the results, for themselves.
And maybe the explanation I want you to embellish this. The explanation is you've been working with your conscience. I'm working with your subconscious, and your subconscious is more powerful than you give it credit for. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of how, yeah, you explained it perfectly. That's how I explain it, is just cognitive behavioral therapy is a venting session. You go to this person, and venting is very powerful and it is very important and valuable, but it will only get you so far. I think there's a time and a place for every modality that we have. And I think we are privileged as humans to have so many tools at our disposal to be able to figure out what works best for us. And that's kind of half the battle. But yeah, I actually say to clients, I'll work with your 95% subconscious, which is how big the subconscious is. You, in your conscious outer awake life, have to work with the 5% conscious. So the decisions you make, the thoughts that you choose to have, in your daily life, that's your responsibility. But when you're in my office and when you give me the hour to really work on your subconscious, I'll take it from there. But you are you gotta take the conscious part.
When I coach people, I tell them I'm a coach. I'm not a therapist. A therapist is going to unpack what's behind you. I'm going to try to unpack what's ahead of you, unpack who you are and what's ahead of you. Would you say that's kind of your approach? I also think a therapist seems to focus on the negative aspects of your life, where it doesn't sound like that's the focus that you normally have.
Well, yeah. So yes, I do. I do have, and this will help me answer the question, because I'll say that there are a few clients, prospective clients, that have come to me in the past and said some version of, I know I have trauma in my past that I can't remember it. Can you help me remember it? And I would say, absolutely not. No, I will not. It's not, if you don't remember it, trust your mind and brain that it knows what it's doing, right? Because it's like having a scab. You wouldn't want to pick and rip the scab off. It's there for a reason.
But there are therapists that would pick and rip the scab.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So it could never be me. So I just say no. And honestly, if you're having a challenge or an issue today that's limiting you from living your fullest life, I will take you as you are today, and we can treat the symptoms that are holding you back. And if the symptomatic approach does not have an effect, then we can go back and see where this might have originated. But we never go on what I call fishing expeditions in the mind.
Yeah.
we never just blindly go check for stuff. If there's something that will come up that the client's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I never thought about this before or connected this before, and this is really something that I want to look at, then in a nice, calm, relaxed, loving way, we will do that. But it's never, ever, ever like, let's go relive your trauma, because I just don't think it's needed all the time. I just really don't. I've never had to do it yet, so yeah. I think we're good.
Yeah. In your podcast, your High Vibe in It podcast, it has a strong spiritual and self-mastery focus. How has hosting your show helped you to continue growing and maybe helped your listeners grow through that process as well? I know it's a general question, but I'm sure you'll get some specifics.
I'll talk about it. Yeah. Well, I do love that our podcast, it has the capacity to meet a insane number of amazing individuals. Like, I love every guest we've had. I've learned so much from everyone we've had on, and that's how I like to keep myself growing, is learning what do you do? Like, and I'm sure you'd agree, like, what do you do? Teach me about your modality. Maybe I could look into this. Maybe this is something I need. And I think it's just so important that I individually, personally keep learning about new things, because I just don't want the day to come where I feel like I know everything. That seems so horrible. I like not knowing things. I like learning, and I'm a learner at heart. So that kind of keeps me evolving. And I think that having the ability to speak to a lot of people at once and be myself has healed me in a way, because I kind of, I had a little bit growing up of that. I'm a middle child of like seven
I'm a middle
kids.
child of 5, so I'm right there.
So
with you.
You just kind of get lost in the shuffle, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's easy to kind of just hide and fade into the background. And so having a show, and for the longest time, it was a live show. So when I would just get on and have to fill the hour, it freaked me out in the best way, because I had to step up and I had to evolve and I had to grow. And I'm so glad that I did. And so I think the ability to speak to as many people at once was healing for me, because I got to be myself, and like, they didn't hate it, and it was awesome. You actually like what I'm saying. This is cool.
Yeah.
And it's it's just a great experience. I don't know if I've answered your question, but I love my podcast, and I love the ability to meet people, to speak to people, to connect with them, and just elevate everyone.
So
a rising sea lifts all boats kind of thing.
You have a very specific process, but your podcast kind of touches on a lot of that in small little, dribbles. Do you think people are getting healed from just even the input from your podcast?
Well, I know they are. I mean, and it's so amazing. Our reviews for the podcast, the comments people leave on the episodes on Spotify, and we have a Patreon where if people want to subscribe and support the show and the production of the show, and so they'll pop in and talk to us about how amazing they haven't trashed any episodes yet, so I don't know if they're just being really, really nice, but they do tend to be pretty vocal when something hits and resonates with them and something really kind of lands with them. So I'm always amazed and astounded and very, very honored to be able to witness everybody's journey in that way. So yes, I would say that, yes, I think no matter what we talk about, I'm sure you found this too. No matter what you talk about, somebody needs to hear it. And I think that's just so important.
Okay, this is going to be I think it's going to be tough for you.
I'm ready.
You find out that your future is limited. You have limited time. For whatever reason, you have to drop either the private counseling or your podcast. One is a broader voice, covers more people. The other one is a very custom and probably very transformative. Which do you think is more in line with your calling?
Well, why do I have limited time? Do I have a disease?
I can't tell you that.
Is the world about to? Are there asteroids hitting the Earth? What's going on?
I'm just saying maybe you have a commitment that is taking now half of your time. Maybe there's an ailing parent or something like that. So now you have to choose your priority.
I do love this question. I think it would have to take asteroids for me to actually pick, because I don't think I could. But if I had to, let's say there's just an imminent disaster and I had to shut something down, man, why are you doing this to me? I would probably say, I don't know. I'd probably say, I can't do it.
There's two babies. You can't choose which one is your favorite.
This is like Sophie's choice. I can't do this. Okay. Let me answer both ways. If I got rid of the podcast, it would help me focus on deeper, more laser-focused work that I signed up for. Like I studied for, I got the diplomas, I got the certifications. That is what I'm doing this for. So that's one aspect. If I got rid of the clients, then it would be great because I would be able to speak, as you said, to a larger audience. There'd be a wider spread of evolution and growth and whatever else people are getting out of hearing me talk every week. And so there's pros and cons to both, and I refuse to pick. But I think that there's value. There's value in both, but there's a pro in getting rid of either, because they would both serve me. And divine timing, they would always be exactly what I needed to do. So I'm happy with wherever the wind blows, I guess.
Well, you're one that speaks to passion, right? And you speak to desires. Are you on a bigger high after you do your podcast or after you have a session with one of your clients?
Probably after I have a session, because I can see in real time what's happening. Like I can witness.
You get the feedback right away.
Yeah. And I watch it happen. They come out of hypnosis and they're 50 pounds lighter energetically, and it's addictive for sure for me.
Yeah. The average person is with you you said you have a program that's 6 weeks, one that's 12 weeks, and I think you mentioned another one. The average person is with you for how long?
Well, most clients will pick the 12-week, 3-month container.
And then that's the end for most of them. In other words, they feel like that you've coached them enough to realize their inner path, that they can do it on their own at that point. Is that what your goal is?
12 weeks. Yeah. 12 weeks is what I boost as the amount of time where they wouldn't necessarily need more for what they came to me for. And I'm saying it very carefully because a lot of people at the end of their 12 weeks will say, I don't want this to end. I'm loving these sessions so much. And so they'll sign on for like another 6 weeks or 12 weeks. Like I have clients I have some going on like 3-4 years now because they just need it. I mean, who doesn't, right? Like,
well, there's chasms in their life that are unveiled and or that are fixed, and now you're going to take them down another chasm.
Well, even if they've, I don't like the word fixed, but let's say they've released all of the obstacles in the 12 weeks that they came to me for, and they don't have any other that have come to mind. They can still choose like a lot of them will do like a monthly check-in session. So they'll come once a month just to have a nice reset, a nice relaxation. If I can leave them a little better energetically or in a relaxed state than I found them, then that's really what they're paying me for at this point. Right. So it's just a space where they get to talk about themselves. I mean, who doesn't want to talk about themselves and actually be encouraged to talk about their experience? They come and talk about what's going on with them, how they're feeling. They process right then and there. We do a nice hypnosis to help them, go forth in the next month, and then I see them again. So it's just a nice little reset moment that they like to keep. But there are some that are after the 12 weeks, they're like, well, that's great. If I need anything else, I'll let you know. But I give them audio versions of every hypnosis we do. So if they do need to, reinforce something, then they have them forever. So they can do it 10 years down the road if they need to.
Let's say 20-year-old Lynnsey is listening to your podcast and she discovers, like you discovered, I want to become a hypnotherapist. How do they do that? What's the path?
Well, I'm going to tell them. Can I tell you a really crazy story?
Yeah.
The
crazier, the better.
Listen to this. Okay. So when I was 20, still living in Michigan, actually I was 19. When I was 19, still living in Michigan, right before I moved or when I decided I wanted to do this work, I had reached out to a school of hypnotherapy and I filled out the online application. And it was one of those things where you fill out the application and they call and then you just don't pick up because you're not ready. You know what I'm trying to say? You know what I'm saying? Right. We've all done that, right? Okay.
You think you're ready, then you're not ready, then you think you're ready, and then the call came at the time when you were feeling self-doubt.
Feeling not ready. Yeah. I was like, I'm not going to, no. So I didn't answer and then, forgot about it. Fast forward to, this would have been 2005. Okay. So fast forward to 2013. I graduated from the Institute of Hypnotherapy that I went to and that I ended up going to. And then I ended up working there.
Just back up, how many years was that or what did that include in terms of time?
The study? The study was a year of, a year of study, 6 months of clinical residency. So you'd see clients for 6 months and then you would graduate. Pretty extensive. What I was going to say is I ended up working at the Institute after I graduated, helping the distance education students in the distance department. Gotcha. And so I had to know what all the other schools were offering. I had to know their curriculum so that when I got questions about why ours is so great, I could answer them. Gotcha. It is great. It is the best one. So just so you know.
Are there multiple schools all over the United States for this?
Well, here's the thing. Hypnotherapy is not regulated federally. So if I opened a quote unquote school in my basement and just, wanted to charge people thousands of dollars, I could call it a school because there's nobody telling me I can't. I could call myself a doctor of hypnotherapy if I wanted because there's no one telling me I can't, even though a doctor of hypnotherapy doesn't exist. Yeah. So there's no doctorate for hypnotherapy. There's no degree whatsoever. So there's a lot of, it's like the Wild West. So you have to and that was part of my job is teaching people what to look for and, make sure that it's accredited. Our school was accredited by the Board of Education, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, so as I'm working in the office, I look up my name because I wanted to see what my teachers and stuff had said about me when I was a student, right? Because now I work there and I can do this. Yeah. So I looked up my name and I had the application that I filled out in 2005 was for that school. Mm-hmm. And I had no idea I had no idea. This was between 2005, some random school I found on the internet, and 2012 when I was living in Los Angeles and decided finally I was going to go for it.
Okay.
That's like 8 years.
Yeah.
7 years, 8 years. Yeah. And they had my old number from Michigan. They had my old email address. They said, tried to call, didn't answer, which is true.
Because you chickened out at the time.
Because I chickened out when I was 19. So so it just, for me, when you ask like, how did you know your soul purpose? The other moment where I knew was that moment when I saw my name from 7, 8 years ago. And I knew I was sitting in the same office that my 20-year-old self had called filled out the application for. It's just so nuts. There's no doubt in my mind that I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to do. There's no doubt.
And what's cool about that is that's an actualization, right? Because you were overpowered by the negative. As a 20-year-old, you're not going to answer the phone. And then you decided to step forward. And that's really what this is all about, is helping people get over their natural blockage, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's just so poetic. It's so full circle. It's so cool.
That's cool. Well, let's go the opposite extreme. What's ahead for you? What are you excited about? Is there anything changing? Are you doing anything different with the podcast, or what is on the future that you're excited about?
I am very excited at the moment. I just launched an app. I have an app for my hypnotherapy membership, which is crazy. It's something I always dreamed of doing, but not something I actually thought I would do.
Is this cutting edge? Nobody else has done it?
I mean, there are other, like, I don't know how to describe it really. There aren't any hypnotherapy apps, but there are other apps that are like, here's an app for mindset and for spirituality and, like, you know, witchy stuff. I've seen like sage and candles and stuff like that, but not specifically hypnotherapy. I have had my membership since 2020, so I've had it for a while, but it was on a different platform and it was kind of clunky and not really user friendly. So this is such a breath of fresh air to be able to just send people to the app store and have them get, you know, all my hypnotherapy, all my mindset tools. I have EFT sessions in there. I have live hangouts that I do with people. So it's really cool to be able to give them one.
So once people get the app, they can do any of those things, even if they're not your client, even if they're just listening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha. Oh, that's cool.
So there's all my hypnotherapy audios are in there. All my best digital
so 20-year-old Lynnsey would have loved that, because she could have dug in a lot before.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, I totally would have. I would have downloaded it and been like, let's see what this is about.
You would have geeked out on that. Totally. So that.
Oh, that's cute. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. No, there's probably a 20-year-old Lynnsey out there already doing that, and
that's so cool.
She's gonna see you as a pioneer for her. So that's great. Julie, you want to say anything?
Oh my gosh, good question. I can't believe I haven't answered that. Yeah. So I only do virtual sessions. So as long as you can hear me, then the work is getting done. I don't need to be in the room with you. So I do Zoom usually. Haven't really tried to do it over the phone, although I do have colleagues that do it over the phone. But Zoom is my go-to. Yeah. As long as I can see you and you can see me and you can hear my voice, then we're off and running. Sessions are an hour. The first session usually goes to 90 minutes because there's a lot of establishing work that we need to do in that one, and we go over a lot of stuff. So usually an hour, 15 minutes to chat about what is going on and how your week went, and then 20 minutes for the hypnosis, and then we wrap up. So, yeah.
Lynnsey, I've enjoyed this time. It's been fascinating to me and very illuminating, probably the best way of saying it. So thank you very much for being generous with your time.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This was so fun to talk to both of you. I hope your wife's neck feels better. And anytime. This was so fun. Thank you.
You too.
All right. Have a good rest of your day.
You too. Bye.
Bye now.
We want to take a moment to thank our sponsors. Today's episode of Your Best Life was brought to you by True North Quests, helping you discover your calling so you can live a life filled with purpose. Find out more at tnadventures.org, where you can book an appointment with a calling coach, learn about upcoming True North Quest workshops, and more. and by Marble Mountain Kennels, where exceptional Labrador Retrievers are bred and trained for adventure, companionship, and service. Visit mmkennels.com to meet your new best canine friend. Thank you for joining us today. Until next time, remember your best life starts with knowing your calling and finding your true north.